Well, good afternoon, you guys. You're drinking your cup. That's Alyssa McLaughlin. And I'm Rick Dancer, and our show is sponsored by Dave Kammerer with Summit Funding. And we are at Bangers and Brews in Eugene, over across from Sheldon High School, and they're actually going to give us a $25 gift card to if you guys tag 2 people in the comment section, then we pick a winner. But Darren does that once a week, so it's a free meal. You're going to have to, actually it's like 2 meals when you're here. It's $25. But the reason we're here with Elisa, I'm sorry. See, she's bold enough that she'll do that. Elisa is on the spectrum. She has Asperger's or autism. And recently she notified me that she is going to be teaching a course at LCC on autism, what to look forward to. I think this is, has this ever been done?
I don't think so.
I mean, for someone with autism to then teach other people with autism and or relatives or family members, anything like that, hygiene, anything like that, I think that's phenomenal. Why? So tell me about what the idea is, what you're looking to do.
Well, there's enormous amount of awareness and people looking for autism and helping children, education, intervention, and therapy and all that stuff. But it's when you get to adulthood, it's like, well, you're an adult, you'll figure it out. Oh, well, we're done with you. And so there are a lot of adults who are now, people in their 30s and 40s and even their 50s. I didn't get my diagnosis until I was 50, who are discovering autism, and they're like, what do I do? And this class is partly to address the issue about history and about misconceptions, to help people understand this is the kind of things you're going to encounter. This is why you're encountering these problems in your daily life, how to deal with anxiety and depression and all those fun things.
Yeah, and you were describing there's some things you really want people to understand. And for one, a lot of people with autism, people don't tell them, do you think you might have autism?
This is a really interesting thing. This is because I know people who kids have autism, or a friend of mine who autism runs in our family. Oh, my son has it, blah blah blah. And I said, why didn't you say anything to me? And she said, I didn't know that you didn't know. Well, if you'd said something, you would have found out. It's like the analogy I told you earlier. It was like if you're at a party and you go to the bathroom, you come out and you've got to zip up and your fly's open, and nothing's showing, but it's obvious your fly's open. And then people do this sort of avoidance thing, and you go, why is everyone acting weird? What's going on? And people just like, well, I don't want to cause a scene, I don't want to embarrass them or anything, so they don't say anything. Instead of someone going, Rick, come here, come in the other room.
Right.
Yeah, one of us has our fly open. So, oh yeah, okay, thanks a lot, dude. And more the embarrassment. But people are afraid to say something because they don't, well, it'll, maybe embarrass them, or they'll take insult or something. Instead of, and very often people have found out, as John Elder Robinson, who wrote the book Look Me in the Eye, a friend of him said, hey, John, you should read this book by Tony Atwood. There may be something there you can relate to. And he went, oh my God, I have autism. Because so many people missed it.
So you guys, if you just tuned in, this is Elisa, and she is on the spectrum. I met her because she wrote the most fantastic letter to the editor many years ago, and I read it and I was screaming as I'm reading it, because we expect people with autism to change, or like you're not social as a lot of people. Those kind of situations make you uncomfortable, and people say, well, just throw yourself in, you'll get used to it. It doesn't happen like that, right?
It doesn't happen like that. Part of that is what I call the assumption of adulthood. When you become an adult, people are like, well, you're an adult, you'll figure it out. And you go, it's like having a car with parts missing. Well, that car doesn't have the ability to have that part. So you're never going to have that part. So you're a car that has parts missing that you'll never have those parts. And people go, oh, well, just get this part. And you go, my car doesn't do that.
Right.
Yeah.
If I only run on all 8 pistons, well, I got 6.
Yeah. And the car doesn't do reverse, so I have to be careful where I park, that sort of thing.
So what do you want to do with this class? What are you looking to help people do?
I'm helping to inform people, because there's a lot of misconceptions, a lot of disinformation about autism. There's a lot of assumptions about people with autism. People think that, people are autistic, they can't function, that they're not able to do things on their own. Because they often come off as very childlike, so they just simply say, oh, they're the old pejorative, they're retarded or they're just, not very intelligent or whatever. And I really want to dispel a lot of that for people and say, we can function in the world. And, oh, by the way, we're aware we have something wrong with us. You don't have to try to pretend like,
Right.
at the party that our fly isn't open. Yeah.
And don't you think that a lot of times people on the spectrum are sometimes seen in school as weird people?
Yeah.
Because you don't. The neuronormals do things a certain way, and so if you come in as a non-neuronormal, as on the spectrum of of autism, all of a sudden you're the one that people and they laugh behind your back.
Well, sure, and then sometimes they don't even laugh behind your back. But that's a real problem, and a lot of times autistic people are trying so hard, especially adolescents, they're trying so hard to fit in that when they see that reaction, they go, okay, what's going on here? What am I doing wrong? What's wrong here?
And don't you think a lot of people actually lose themselves or their personality because they spend so much time trying to make a function that is acceptable to the world? So you start becoming like what you model after other people, their behavior, rather than being who you really are.
Yeah, the difference between someone who's autistic and someone who's a sociopath, and very often some people who've been autistic have been diagnosed as sociopathic. The difference is a sociopath is a really good mimic. Ted Bundy is a good example of that. Perfect mimic. Autistic people are terrible mimics. We're just like socially tone deaf. A lot of them, they just...
What does that mean? Socially tone deaf? I'm sorry. Kim wants to know, how do you get signed up for the class? So it's an LCC.
Yeah, here we go.
So
you go to the LCC website, which is Lane EEC edu. It's in the catalog. But you go to the Lane Community
and this
College.
runs October 14th through November 11th. It's 6:30 to 7:30 in the evening
at the downtown
campus. It's $120, and so Elisa's going to be teaching the class. You guys, I mean, and I'm not trying to make this into a bigger deal than it is, but I think this is groundbreaking. When I saw it, I was like, and my wife instantly said, I want to take this, because I think there's so many people we run into the world and in our own families that are on the spectrum. We may know it, we may think it, but once you understand, why is it so important to understand that this is just so damn okay that you're on the spectrum?
Yeah.
I mean, this is who you are.
This is who we are. Again, because there's a lot of misconceptions about it. There's a lot of misunderstanding about it. That people they go, well, how do I act about them that they're autistic? Normal would be good,
right.
And just remember that they're going to have certain things. It's if someone's in a wheelchair or someone's blind or someone's deaf, you just have to make certain adjustments, and that's all that people with autism are asking, is that neurotypicals make adjustments, because we can't always adjust to you. You're going to have to make some adjustments.
That's the thing you said to me that rocked my world, is we expect you and people on the spectrum like yourself to assimilate to what we do. When we do have the ability to assimilate to you.
It's much easier for neurotypicals than for the autistic person.
So as
we lack those certain tools in the toolbox. You have them. We don't. So it's like saying, well, give me a wrench. I go, I don't have a wrench. Well, I do. Well, why don't you use the wrench,
Right. I have this screwdriver. Well, the screwdriver doesn't work. It doesn't fit into our culture. So you have to have a wrench. Well, I don't have a wrench.
Yeah.
And you wrote in this article that time, you said, I thought this was fascinating for people. So you run into me and you learn how to talk to me. Mm-hmm. Then I would expect you, when you run into another person, you've learned a communication skill. Now you use that same skill on the other person. You don't see it that way.
No, it doesn't work that way, because there's not that ability to retain that information. That's how humans learn social skills. You see that even with animals, they go, well, see, this is how you do things, and they go, oh, okay, and then they learn how to do that and expand on that. The autistic person simply doesn't, not all, but a lot of autistic people simply don't have the ability to be able to adapt that. They don't have the ability to retain that information. I don't know how many times they keep saying, okay, you're going in a situation, this is how you're supposed to behave, blah, blah, blah. And then I veer off almost immediately, and then later I go, well, you were supposed to stick to the script, why didn't you? I don't know. I just wasn't able to do that.
And Kim says this is awesome. Thank you for the information. She wants to connect with you. So Kim, let me tell you this. You'll find out how to connect to Elisa, because that's going to be way more. That's how it has to work, really.
Yeah.
She's not going to be able to do that. That's just not in the
I'm an
wheelhouse.
old dinosaur.
It's not in the wheelhouse.
Yeah.
We make these things work. So the class again, you guys, starts on the 14th. So you need to get registered. It's through LCC.
Yeah.
And the actual name of it is Awareness of Adult Autism. So if you know someone or you have someone in your, I know people are going, this is amazing. I knew you were going to love this because I think this is earth shattering. And how does this? I don't, and I feel so comfortable with you. I know you'll correct me if I'm wrong. Does this validate anything for you? Is that?
Well, nobody cares about you, Rick. No, I'm kidding. I don't even know who you are. This man's a stranger. He shanghaied me. I'm gonna call the police. No, it's fine.
But you struggle because I see online where you're having a day where you're depression and things like that.
God, yeah, it's constant. Yeah, if people, take it some time to just understand it and say, okay, this person has a missing part, and that's fine. Don't ask someone in a wheelchair to go, well, we have
Get up
steps.
and
I don't know
walk.
what you can just walk in. It doesn't work that way, and it's very hard for people because it's an invisible disability. It's not obvious.
Right.
It's very subtle.
So
even experts miss it.
Do you have trouble making friends?
Yeah, I do. It's not easy to make friends because that social tool isn't there to start with. People say, oh, well, it'd be so, just join some club and it'll be easy. And you go, it doesn't work that way. Oh, you're in a wheelchair? Well, you just exercise your legs more, you'll be able to walk again.
See, doesn't that make sense? That's what I think is so cool about you, is you understand the world enough that you draw analogies to our world. So you're kind of like this missing link between the autism world and the neuronormal world. That you
Oliver Sacks said, people with Asperger's offer us a window into the world of autism. There's a lot of autistic people who are nonverbal or they're isolated. They don't know how to communicate with the outside world. People with Asperger's said, oh, this is what's going on because we can verbalize it. We can communicate with the neurotypical world.
But you do it in a way that's very
I'm fortunate in
effective.
both my parents were very facile, very verbal people, and I learned that very early on to talk. And also, autism presents itself differently in males and females. That's another thing I want to point out. That people say, well, you're verbal. You make eye contact. Yeah, because females, I guess, are better at that. Girls develop verbal skills earlier than boys, and so on.
Tell them the analogy you used for me before we started this about how when oh God, don't lose it, Rick, don't lose it. You said you're more verbal. Eye contact. So remember we were talking about eye contact and you said how painful that is?
Yeah, it is.
So it's kind of showing what you did. You did something to.
Well, it's if you when you go to meet someone, you shake hands with someone like this.
Right.
You go, hey, nice to meet you, whatever, and that's fine. But with someone who's autistic, it may be like this.
Yeah.
You can do it, but it can be painful. It's like, well, you have no problem making eye contact. I said, yeah, I can walk on glass too, but that's not any fun.
Right.
In other words, I can do it, but it's not easy. It's never easy.
Is it easier to be alone?
No.
Is that the hard part?
That's interesting because it's hard to be with groups of people, and sometimes it's very hard to be alone too, because we know it. I don't know what it is. It's something very strange. It's like that social gene. It's not completely missing. It's broken.
Yes.
It's there, but it's broken.
So do you think on people who are more in the autism spectrum, the less in the industry, no, we're not supposed to use Asperger's anymore, but we don't really care because it really does define it for a lot of people. So people who are more on the autism spectrum than the Asperger's spectrum, do you think that they don't understand some of the things you do? So is it hard? I guess what I'm trying to ask, and please don't write me if I'm asking this wrong, because she knows my heart. And is it harder for you because you know too much? You know what you're missing out on.
It's like people because I have blindness in one eye, and so say, do you miss it? And I go, no, I never had binocular vision, so I don't miss it. I can still see depth perception and all that because it's constructed in the brain. But I said, no, I didn't miss it because I never had it.
Right.
I can't see 3D movies, but apparently I'm not missing much there.
Right.
So other than that, no, it's not a problem.
So in terms of autism, you don't.
Yeah, with the autism, it's always been there. I just didn't know about it until I was 50. So I couldn't figure out why I couldn't make friends and why all these other things. And then when I got the diagnosis, I went, oh, well, that explains it. It doesn't help any, but it explains it.
So you really want people to be able to get that diagnosis sooner so that they don't live for 50 years thinking that there's just something wrong with them when there really isn't. It's
Exactly.
just how
if
they
you,
are.
If you, then, and one of the things I will cover in this class is criteria. If you know somebody and you suspect they may be on the spectrum, you think, that maybe have something autism, but they may have autism, say something to them. Don't go like the person at
Not
the
in front
party.
of
I'm
other
going to
people.
ignore the person with the open fly. Say something to them. At the most, they might get up, go, that's just not true. Or they'll go, okay, I'll look into that. I happened to find out it on my own. I tripped over it when I was reading the DSM. But a lot of people, someone said, hey, you may have this autistic thing. Here, let me show you the, criteria. When they go, oh my God, that's me. People in their 30s, 40s, and 50s are discovering as adults that they have autism. They go, what do I do now?
Right.
Because there's so little resources for them.
Gina asked on here, by the way, people are loving you. Oh, we love
thank
her.
you.
Yeah. So Gina asked on here, is it difficult to be around other people on the spectrum?
Oh, yes.
Huh?
Yes. I know it's kind of a joke. I go, this is really embarrassing, but I don't like hanging out. A lot of people are autistic because neurotypicals, I know what to expect. It's like you all have this kind of like, there's a standardization. This is how they're going to, something, okay, that's how people react. But with autistic people, you never really know. So you have to make the adjustment. Are they sensitive to sound? Are they the ones who take a long time, take a long time to think? Or are they the ones that you just go,
so in a way,
okay, I have to figure out their thing.
So in a way, you understand how neurotypical feels when they meet
You
someone.
people are ridiculously easy to read, really.
we're seriously.
Oh.
So you're a more complex person.
Yes, with autism, people are going to be more complex. And once I get used to it, I go, fine. I was, the example, I was with a friend of mine, and she does what's called stimming. She started rocking. And then the other woman started rocking. I was like, I'm in a room full of rocking chairs. What is this? And I go, okay, it's just something they do. And after that, I ignored it, and I didn't see it anymore. But it's kind of like the things you have to get used to. The person's going to shake their hands when they're nervous, or they're going to rock, or they're going to stare off into space, or whatever. Just say, well, they're staring off into space, they're ignoring me. You say, is something wrong? Oh, no, I'm fine. Oh, okay. They may be just staring off into space because they're overstimulated, and that's their way of dealing with it. They're shutting out some things so that they can ground themselves.
It's a touchy question, but if you could be...
Yes, I'm fabulous in bed. Oh, no, that's not it. Never mind.
If you could be neurotypical, would you choose to be different than this?
That's a very good question. And it depends on who you ask. I think that with me, probably I wish I had. Yeah, I wish I could be neurotypical. I'm close enough to it. But if it said, "Oh well, you're gonna lose all your creativity," and I go, "Forget it."
Right.
But if I could be neurotypical and still maintain some of my creativity, oh yeah, a heartbeat.
Because don't you think there's aspects of people? Elisa once told me she didn't talk until later than normal, not because she couldn't, but because she didn't see that.
Oh, I know. Hi, Chris.
So, but you are, but okay, but because I want to think, but there's some. This is a weird way to say it, but there's gifts to be on the autism spectrum as well.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
super focused.
There's something
and
super
creative.
Isaac Newton, Paul Dirac, who is probably the
Mark
20th
Zuckerberg
century
has to be on the spectrum.
Paul Dirac was a classic case of autism. Newton certainly had Asperger's. I mean, I read about his life and I go, oh man, this guy's got Asperger's.
I think who's the
all
guy
over
that
him.
owns Microsoft?
A little bit. Einstein may have had it a little bit. Hans Asperger said, a touch of Asperger's or a touch of autism is essential to creativity and even genius. And he was right.
So if by teaching this class and educating us, because really the hard part is the connection to us. If we understood you better and understood that that's just the way this is, and like, wouldn't it be easier to be a car without 8 pistons, but you actually have this other part in the car that we don't have? And so if we honored that and respected that and saw it and noticed it and reflected that and used it in our communities, wouldn't that be kind of the perfect situation.
But I think that could apply to just about anything, whether someone is Jewish or gay or black or transgender or they're Republican or Democrat or
Right,
whatever,
right.
and just say that's just the way they are, and I go okay.
Right. It doesn't make them less than.
Yeah.
It makes
there are
them
some
part
people
of the community.
Yeah, I know people, and they've done something I feel is just really repugnant, but I go, they're okay. Otherwise, they're a great person. I'm not going to hold that entire thing against the balance of the rest of them. I go, yeah, that person did something really pukey, but punky, but otherwise they're okay. And I think that's the same thing. It applies. You go, well, she's really strange, and it's really hard to get used to her, but I can make adjustments. Okay. And if it's worth it, yeah.
Is it okay being strange?
Yes. Be strange, people. Be strange.
Don't you think
normal is overrated.
Completely overrated. So you get Elisa's teaching this class at LCC, Lane Community College. It starts on October the 14th. You need to register now. It's a 6-week class. I think that's what it totals out to.
Yes.
It's $120, and you'll have fun. I guarantee you probably never had a teacher like this before. Do you have to test people?
Well, that's a good idea.
Don't you think you should have a test?
Pop quiz.
Yeah, and it has to be on the spectrum.
That, yeah.
Yeah,
okay. Okay.
So, you guys, Elisa, thank you for doing this for our community and for me and just personally, because I know a lot of people on the spectrum who are so misunderstood. And I think if people in the neuronormal community could just, it's not come down to a level at all. It's really to recognize the beauty in every function, whether it's Down syndrome or whether it's anything, because it's not a disability. Down syndrome is not a disability either. It creates some of the most amazing people. And I think we need to start looking at different abilities rather than disabilities, because I have more disabilities than you will ever have.
There's a film out called The Peanut Butter Falcon.
I loved it. Oh my God.
And the kid's a guy in it has Down syndrome. He's great.
An amazing actor.
He's an amazing actor. And I'm going,
Peanut Butter Falcon. You guys should go see it. It's
a fun film.
Really charming.
But you go, guess what? They can act too.
So again, you guys, this is sponsored. If you like this kind of content, Dave Kammerer at Summit Funding is the guy who's sponsoring this show for us. And so, when you're looking for a mortgage, then, this is how it works. The people that sponsor me, we need to sponsor them. And also, we're here at Bangers and Brews across from Sheldon, because Darren said, I need a place that I can go, and I don't want to have interviews like this hidden in an office. Because the worst thing we can do is continue to hide stuff like this. I want it out in the community. So Darren said, come on in. And he's giving a $25 gift card to somebody who tags 2 people in the comment section. And then I'll go back in a week and I'll pick somebody and you'll win a $25 gift card. That's just to reward you for being kind and paying attention. So she has a bus to catch. I got to go back to work to an office meeting.
Yeah, we got to go back to
we have to go have our regular lives. So anyway, you guys, you will be blessed by doing this. And please, here's one other thing I ask you to do. Share this on your Facebook page. Just take it and share it right now, because you never know who's going to be paying attention on your page and all of a sudden go, oh my gosh, that's me, or that's Billy or June or whoever it is. So your part that you can do in this is let other people know about it. And let's pack our class so that LCC has to do like a whole 2 months worth of classes.
We got more people. You're going to have to do this class again.
Yeah, that would be horrible, wouldn't it? So again, Elisa McLaughlin, and the class is called Awareness of Adult Autism. So it's not in the closet anymore. It's we're bringing it out so everybody can know about it, and you will have a hell of a good time. All right, David.
Either that or you'll go, oh, put it back in the closet. Put it back in the closet. Ugly.
David Kammerer, thank you so much for sponsoring this.
Thank you very much.
Couldn't do this without you. All right, you guys. What's tomorrow? Friday. Tomorrow we are going to St. Vincent de Paul's new house that they have over in the South Eugene. They bought it a few years ago, and they bought an old church, and they made it into a home for girls who are on the verge of being homeless. And we're going to talk to some of them. And then on Saturday, we just got a busy day. We're going to be at the Beer Stein at noon, popping a keg for Oktoberfest. And then we're going to be at the distillery. Swallowtail in Springfield is having its big grand opening.
Rick is going to be drinking himself
at
across
3:45, and then it gets worse. And then at 6 o'clock, I'm going to be at the beer station in Junction City out with Nelson and the gang. They're having a big Habitat for Humanity party. So, you would get me in so much trouble, Lisa.
You're going to need a drive home.
Okay. All right. We'll see you guys later. Have a good evening. Share this on your page, please.